All right, you guys, what's going on? It's your boy Town. So I decided to get one more in before I call it a night. All right. So with that being said, I was gonna get a quick boxing video. Get a quick boxing video in. So I was gonna talk some boxing, talk about a few things. Talk about Carissa Shields' obsession with Keith Thurman, and Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford for the second time being officially off when I told you that the fight was off last week. And now, basically, according to reports from the WBC, the fight is officially off. And then I'm going to talk some other boxing news and whatnot, all that good stuff. So, um, let's begin. All right. So it appears that Errol Spence and the WBC, along with Terrence Crawford, the WBC received notice from Team Crawford that they will not be fighting Errol Spence next, and they have asked for some time to decide what they're going to do now. From what I've been told, from what I've been hearing behind the scenes, Terrence Crawford is working on his next opponent and his next fight, because if he is to secure a fight with Canelo for September, he wants to make sure he at least gets a fight in between 154 to 175. Now, Bud technically doesn't have to come in at the full 168. He can actually come in at, anything under 168. But knowing Bud, he'll probably try to come in at 168 on the dot. But if Bud wanted to come in at 164, he could. You know, it's about making weight, not being overweight. You only pay penalties if you don't, if you don't make weight. But I reported last week that the fight wasn't going to happen because of just a variety of different things, from Errol Spence not being ready to go. Errol Spence had surgery on his eye, and Errol Spence, they already said for that particular injury that it was going to take Errol Spence at least 2 to 3 months to heal. And he had the surgery in January. So basically, you talking about worst case scenario, maybe March or early April. And then let's just say they was able to put everything together. You still talking about Errol Spence not being ready to go to at least around June if he's lucky. So with that being said, many people believe that it wasn't going to be a rematch. And then plus at the end of the day, the numbers, the numbers of what the fight did says that there wasn't going to be a rematch because the fight underachieved. It didn't meet expectations. Reports are saying that the fight did between 700 to, best case scenario, 850,000 pay-per-views, and that's short of a million. They wanted this fight to do a million pay-per-views, plus they wanted it to be a competitive fight. And like I said, the only people that's in denial about what's going on with this fight is the Errol Spence fans, because they can't accept the fact that Errol Spence got his ass handed to him. And that's just the bottom line. And they need to move on from it, and they need to accept that Terrence Crawford on July 29th, 2023 was the better man. All these excuses and everything else that they've been trying to come up with and conjure up with, from illegal hand wraps to being on PEDs, that's not going to work, because at the end of the day, Showtime wasn't trying to hear that. All they care about is their bottom line. And then once again, I keep saying, who's going to pay for this fight? Does Al want to come up with the money to pay for this fight? Apparently not, because at the end of the day, the fight didn't meet expectations due to whatever the case may be, from them procrastinating and taking too long to make this fight, to just a variety of different things. And by the time the fight came around, like I said, and from the opening bill to the final bill, when we got the end results, Terrence Crawford was far superior to Errol Spence, and it wasn't even close. He beat the hell out of Errol Spence, and that's just the bottom line. But nevertheless, it just took too far long for this fight to happen, and that's why we are where we are now. We don't know when we're going to see Errol Spence. And Bud ain't about to put his career on hold and wait around for Errol Spence to figure out what he wants to do. To be honest with you, Bud didn't have to honor the contract because Errol Spence was a couple of days exercising his right to a rematch. He didn't activate it till a couple of days later. And then they actually had till sometime in December to really, put together a rematch. And as you can see, Showtime didn't want to put together a rematch because they wasn't interested in the fight because they didn't really make that much off the fight. So, the fight grossed around, they said the fight had a decent gate, and it brought in about 60 something million in revenue, but they was hoping for like 80, 90. And unfortunately, the fight underachieved, and people just got to accept the fact. Well, Errol Spence fans got to accept the fact. Errol Spence probably ain't going to be ready to fight till probably best case scenario, if he's lucky, around September or late summer, and it won't be Terrence Crawford. Because at the end of the day, nobody is trying to hear this stuff about, well, it'll be different at 154. No, it won't. It'll be the same results, except it'll end quicker. And that's just basically the bottom line. Errol Spence, on his best day, he can't beat Terrence Crawford. If they fought 10 times, Terrence Crawford would win 10. He blew him out, and people just need to accept it. I mean, if Errol Spence had won the fight, and if he had won the fight the way Terrence Crawford won the fight, I just have to come to grips with it. I wouldn't be making no excuse, but there's constantly been excuses. So now, all of a sudden, the Errol Spence fans have set their sights on Jerron Boots Ennis and made him the adopted fighter to possibly defeat Terrence Crawford. They're rallying behind him, trying to get some get back on behalf of Errol Spence, because some of these people is not Boots fans. But, Boots hasn't fought what you would call a very credible or marketable opponent to where you could say he should get a fight with Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is at the point in his career where he wants big checks for him to get in the ring. It's not like he don't believe he can beat Boots, but, he want to be fairly compensated for it, and that's just the bottom line. So that's all I have to say about that. All right, so with Canelo Alvarez, it's a lot of discrepancies and question marks about who Canelo's next opponent going to be. Now you're possibly hearing that Canelo may move up to cruiserweight and, revisit the Badu Jack thing. I haven't even checked to see who's fighting at cruiserweight, because let's just face the fact, nobody pays much attention to cruiserweight to begin with. So, Canelo has made it very clear that he has no intentions on fighting David Benavidez anytime in 2024. You can call it excuse, you can call it a duck, but at the end of the day, he doesn't seem to be interested in fighting David Benavidez for whatever reason, and it's just looking like Canelo is coming across as a coward. And now, like I said, a lot of the Mexican fans are getting frustrated with Canelo. They're talking about boycotting his fights because they don't want to see him fight Bud. They don't want to see him really. They'll be okay with Jaime Munguia, but they want to see him fight David Benavidez sometime this year. And they're talking about boycotts and all that kind of stuff. And they're coming on my channel saying that they're getting frustrated with Canelo. Hey, I mean, I understand. I understand. I think everybody is frustrated with Canelo. And you see a lot of these people that continue to give Canelo a pass for his opponent's selection. I seen one article where it was talking about Canelo has been satisfying his fans with his opponent's selection. No, he hasn't. That is a complete fucking lie. A lot of people have been giving Canelo a pass about his opponent's selection, giving us fights that nobody asked for. At the end of the day, he thought he had a chance with Bibble, and it was a cherry pick that went terribly wrong for Canelo, as Canelo got the brakes beat off of him by Dimitri Bibble. Even though the referees tried to make it closer than what it really was, but everybody who saw that fight at best thought Canelo didn't win no more than 3 rounds. So, there you have it. But Canelo has continued to get away with this for years. Like I said before, if you really critique Canelo's resume, like I said, Canelo has never really went after the best guy available. He's went after, for the most part, a decent guy that's available, but not the best guy. He hasn't went after the best guy in no division since the Floyd Mayweather fight. And let's just face the fact, who didn't think he was going to beat Julio Cesar Chavez? I thought it would be more of a competitive fight than what it was. I thought Chavez would win at least one round, one or two, at least 4 rounds. But he didn't even win 1 round in my book. So Canelo has always been like this, but he gets away with this. But at the same time, everybody loved to tell other people who they should fight. Everybody want to pick everybody else's fights except Canelo's. The media, like I said, softballs Canelo with questions. They give him softball questions. Actually, tennis ball questions. Because they are worried about Canelo not granting him access or cutting him off or not talking to him. So he gets pass after pass for getting away with this stuff that he does. And it's just nerve-wracking for him to sit up there and say that he's not going to fight David Benavidez no time in 2024. David Benavidez, to me, it's time for him to lawyer up. I've been trying to get in contact with the Benavidez, just saying basically it's just time for them to lawyer up, and it's time to ask for a hearing to get this fight made and get Canelo to fight David Benavidez or be stripped of the title. I mean, Canelo could just vacate or throw it in the trash. He can do whatever he want. He can do whatever he want to do with it. But it appears he don't want to defend it against David Benavidez, and this is why some people say Canelo isn't the true undisputed champion, because he didn't win all of his belts in the ring. One belt, it was eliminator / vacant title, and that's how he got it, but he never beat the actual guy. But record-wise, on paper, it says that Canelo is undisputed, but a lot of people say he shouldn't be undisputed. But, you know, I don't make the rules. The boxing records say that he's undisputed, so it's nothing we could do about it. All right, so let me move on. Let me move on to Claressa Shields. Okay, once again, Claressa Shields is circling the block again and has set her sights yet again in her harassment, stalking of Keith Thurman. Now she's saying she would stop Keith Thurman with a body shot, and that, you know, he's going to lose to you know, Tim Tszyu. Well, whether he does or whether he doesn't, that doesn't mean that you'll be able to beat him. Claressa Shields, a lot of people starting to think something else with Claressa Shields pertaining to Keith Thurman, but I'm not going to bring that up. I'm not going to bring that up. I guess that would be considered inappropriate, but I'm not going to say it. But use your imagination what I think is going on with Claressa Shields and her obsession with Keith Thurman. I mean, does she wake up in the morning thinking about Keith Thurman or something? It's getting to the point to where you just want to say, you know what, Keith Thurman, go on and make this happen. And then when Keith Thurman sleeps Claressa Shields, I don't want to hear nothing about it. I don't want to hear nothing from none of these feminist groups, because Claressa Shields, over the past few years, she's just become very unlikable. At the end of the day, I'm gonna say this again. I don't give a damn if Claressa Shields hears this video and vows not to ever do an interview with me again, because I just don't give a fuck. I'll be fine if Claressa Shields never talks to me again, because where she won't talk to me, there's plenty of other people will. So I'll be fine. Claressa Shields' interview will not make or break my channel whatsoever, so I'll be fine. The thing is with Claressa Shields, she talks a lot of this junk. But my question is, Claressa Shields continues to say men have held her back and they hold women back. Well, isn't it because of men you are where you are? Okay, so how many female trainers you had when you were an amateur, when you were in the gyms practicing boxing, learning how to box? How many coaches you had up to when you got to the Olympics? What did they look like? More than likely they were men. Okay, so who helped you get those 2 gold medals that you got? Who were your coaches? Who schooled you, showed you how to properly, you know, shoot the jab, you know, slip, throw hooks, those combinations. More than likely a man. Who is the reason when you became professional that you haven't lost a fight as a professional? Who be in your corner? Men. But yet you have all this vitriol and hatred towards men. But to be honest with you and get technical with you, you wouldn't be where you are if it wasn't for a man. But that's typical of a woman, not appreciating nothing, thinking something is owed to her. Never see the glass as half full. Always see it as half empty. Do I believe that there's a little bit of, you know, um, bigotry when it comes to female versus male boxing? Well, yeah, in all likelihood. But at the end of the day, as media, we try to give all the attention we can to the female boxers. I have went to cover female fighters where they were the headline. I've interviewed quite a few female boxers. So at the same time, I'm not on that. I want women boxers to succeed. You know, so I don't know where she's getting. I don't know where she's getting this from, or whoever's talking to her, they are filling her head up with nonsense, and eventually it's going to backfire on her. It's going to backfire on her tremendously. And now it's going to get to the point to where people who were once rooting for Claressa to succeed, they're going to be rooting for her to fail, because at the end of the day, she just does way too much complaining. And I just think to a certain degree, she's clout chasing because nobody isn't talking about her. But she keep attaching her name to Keith Thurman. And I don't know what it is with her constantly calling out Keith Thurman. We already saw the footage of her getting put on her ass. And then she threatened to sue people if they put up, you know what I'm saying, if they titled their videos, Claressa Shields gets knocked out. She threatened people with with legal litigation. I mean, like, are you serious? Are you serious? She threatened to sue people. So at the end of the day, she can dish it out, but she can't take it. So she comes across as quite petty. So I just, with Claressa Shields, I just can't help but to be like, are you kidding me? But she threatened to sue people and stuff. But she has all this hatred and vitriol towards men. But if it wasn't for men, she wouldn't even be where she is today. And most of her supporters are men. But she's starting to lose supporters because she just complains about every damn thing. People want the best for her. So I don't know where she got this notion that men be holding her back and stuff, when most men be, cheering her on and be trying to root for her and wish her nothing but the best. So I don't know what's going on through Claressa Shields' mind or whatever the case may be, but this date with Keith Thurman, it needs to stop. Because like I said, I don't want to hear nothing that Keith Thurman takes her up on her offer and then he hurts Claressa Shields. Keith Thurman will hurt Claressa Shields. If she got almost, if she got put on her ass and she had headgear on, now just imagine what happens if somebody hit her flush. She been saying this stuff for years that she could beat Triple G, she could beat Keith Thurman. I don't think so, because it's a lose-lose situation for Keith Thurman. If he fights her and he holds back, then here you go with this gender politics stuff. And I just think nobody really wants to deal with that, because I think a lot of times you start to see people grow tired of this stuff now, just like they doing with Stephen Curry in the All-Star game, make it look like he barely won. Like, for real. If they went by points, he beat her by 3 shots. If they went by points in the NBA, he would have beat her by 9 points. Now, you name me what finals where somebody lost by 9 points and they came close to winning. The game was out of reach. If you lose by 9 or 10 points, that means the game was out of reach. Okay, so just stop it. And then Kenny the Jet Smith was just caping, talked about she should have been able to shoot from the women. But at the end of the day, this was about clout chasing. And then where she get off even having a segment where she says she wants to challenge Stephen Curry to a shooting contest. And basically nobody knows who she is. But she did it for herself. But there you have it. All right, so let me talk about, before I wrap this up, let me talk about Teofimo. I'm not giving Teofimo what he wants, because Teofimo want me to make videos with his face and title this because Teofimo is once again seeking attention. But then at the end of the day, Teofimo, he try to act like he just this G. And a lot of people just behind the scenes, I'm not gonna say no names, but a lot of media people just don't even like dealing with Teofimo Lopez because he could be annoying and he could be ignorant at times. You know, just some of the stuff he says, he just seeking attention so bad to where he's willing to belittle himself and other people just to get attention, hoping that would result to him selling tickets. At the end of the day, he's just trying everything and he's just coming across as desperate. And then come to find out, you know, that there's supposed to be this footage of Keyshawn Davis knocking out his father for, you know, using the N-word. Kudos to Keyshawn Johnson if that was the case. I've already told you how I feel about that. I'm working my hardest to take that out my vocabulary because I'm starting to understand how dangerous using that word is. And now that people then made that a community word to where people that ain't black be walking around saying it and thinking it's cool. And some people saying that ain't even really in tone with the hip hop environment, but it's never no excuse to use that word. And like I said, Teofimo Lopez is desperately seeking Susan. You know, that's a 1985 Madonna film. I think it was her and Rosanna Arquette. But that's how Teofimo is coming off, just desperate for attention. And you just never know what's going to come out of his ridiculous mouth. And Teofimo, like I said, I try to talk to him as less as possible. But at the end of the day, man, somebody like slept your pops and you didn't do nothing about it. I mean, come on, man. But you be trying to talk all this super dude stuff. But like I said before, I'm not taking a bait with Teofimo Lopez because that's what he want people to do. He want us to make videos saying Teofimo said this, Teofimo said that. Nah, Teo, not for me, dude. Not today. And the thing is, I actually like his father. You know, I just think Teofimo be just trying too hard because I think he don't have really no identity and he don't know how to build a fan base. And that's his problem. He doesn't know how to market himself because a lot of times he try to align himself to hip hop and stuff, but then he end up saying something stupid and offensive. But then you can make an argument that maybe he's not, you know, Latin enough for a Latin audience. I mean, you just gotta tell some truth. You just gotta tell some truth. That's just real. So, you know, and then shout out to my correspondent, Kobe, you know, for basically filming that. Teofimo, I want to explain something about that. When you run across a guy that be talking crazy to you, and then when you see him in person, they don't make eye contact with you when you're talking to him, you already got them for the most part. Because that means they really surrendering and they really, you know, they really don't want no problems. I didn't ran across that a few times with people, but you know, I just think that Teofimo, and like I said, I've talked to Senior. He's always giving me interviews, and I appreciate that. I do feel that if he, you know, I haven't seen the footage, I haven't seen the tape. If he did do that, that was stupid. But there is a video trail to support that he probably did say that because one day I forgot who Teofimo was fighting. His father was using the N-word, and Andre Ward was pissed about that. Now, for the people that want to sit up there and justify that and make excuses for him, you can get the middle finger. Well, I haven't seen it, but you know, Shakur Stevenson been talking about it, and a few other people. I don't need to see it because I know that he probably did say that. People got to understand everybody ain't cool with you saying that, and all this stuff about, well, this black dude said it's okay to say it, or this black woman said it's okay to say it. Well, you have to understand they don't speak for the entire race. They don't speak for the entire black group. So what may be cool with one person may not be cool with the next person. And they need to understand that. I don't like that word. It's people that I know that ain't black that say that word around me. I just try to tolerate it, but I really don't be liking it because at the end of the day, you know, um, you know, I just don't like it. I just have never cared for that. And that's just my own personal opinion. And I know some people may not mean anything by it, but at the end of the day, you need to do your research on that, you know. So sometimes you have to come to grips with this thing. Sometimes the problem is people that look like us. They shouldn't be co-signing that stuff. Just shouldn't. Well, it doesn't matter whether he meant it in a racist way. Listen, if you don't have melanin in you, or if you ain't at least 40% black, it just comes. I don't know, that hearing other people say that word is always giving me a some kind of twitch. I don't go for the whole we're all minorities and we should stick together. So I don't believe in that, and I don't buy into that one bit, because at the same time, while they using that word with the A at the end of it, behind closed doors, they might be calling you the one that end with the ER. So I don't really want to have a long conversation about that, but I just wanted to speak on that and just say how I feel about that. But if Teofimo let somebody, you know, let somebody like sleep his father, and he didn't do nothing about it, or at least try to do something about it, that's not a good look on him. So we just gonna have to see. But anyway, appreciate you guys being here. Just wanted to give a quick nightcap. So this your boy Tam Biz signing off.